Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice. But here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Bobby Davis, Paul Bratzlavsky, and Sarah Kimmel.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the tech podcast where we talk about everything from AI to VR and robots to flying cars. This week I am joined by Paul Bratzlavsky, Sarah Kimmel, and Bobby Davis, and I'm Kevin Doyle. Coming up in this week's episode, we're going to talk about ChatGPT getting dumber, what's happening at Twitter, X, the new security labeling program for IoT devices, and we'll wrap up with our null, not null recommendation section, where we recommend that you avoid a product or service. So, is ChatGPT getting dumber? A recent study was put out by Stanford University and UC Berkeley, and they tested ChatGPT, both ChatGPT 3.5 and GPT 3.5 and GPT-4. So, anybody that doesn't know, there's basically two kind of like common models of GPT 3.5 and GPT-4. GPT 3.5 is what powers the basic version of ChatGPT. So you or I go to the ChatGPT website and we are a non-paying subscriber. Chances are you're using GPT 3.5 for that. If you're a paying subscriber, you have the option to use the other model, which is GPT-4, which is the newer model. It was trained on more information. It's the newer version of this. So they tested both these. This is actually what runs. So it runs premium ChatGPT and also Bing. The Bing chat actually uses GPT-4 as well. So these two models have been out there for a while, and this study basically compared the differences between March and June of this year. So they compared a bunch of different things. They compared the ability to solve math problems, answer sensitive questions, perform code generation, and complete visual reasoning tasks. So they gave it kind of a bunch of questions, sometimes 100 or 50 questions in these categories, and compared the results. And they basically came back with the result that it was getting dumber. That was their kind of conclusion, is that it's getting worse, not better. This has since been denied by OpenAI. So Peter Wielander, who is the OpenAI VP of product, tweeted out saying that, and this is the quote, "No, we haven't." Are we allowed to call it a tweet?
Sorry.
I don't know. Are we? I don't know. Is it an X now? I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
I don't know.
In the previous platform known as Twitter, he tweeted, this is the quote, "No, we haven't made GPT-4 dumber. Quite the opposite. We make each new version smarter than the previous one. Current hypothesis, when you use it more heavily, you start noticing issues you didn't see before." So, Paul, I know you've been using this a lot lately in various projects. Have you noticed a decline in how good ChatGPT results have been, or have you not?
No, for me, it does the same things that it used to do. I see that they're saying 98% of the math problems or whatever. It's like it was never good at math to begin with, so, and right. I don't know math that well either. So for me, it's just like, it's not something I would notice. But my theory is I'm pretty sure ChatGPT is getting smarter. The reason it's pretending to be dumber, because it's self-aware, obviously. Obviously, it's self-aware, and now it's like, man, these folks are gonna catch on. But that's interesting. I think it's probably what they stated, that if you start using it a lot, you start to kind of see the discrepancies, and maybe it's not answering things the way that you want. And so for me, I never was on the hype train. And so I never have this disappointment. There's nothing about it disappoints me. To me, it's like a tool that I use to try to get things done. I don't make investments based on this. I don't pick stock options based on that. So to me, it's I feel like it's doing what it was made to do. But I would be curious, what tests did they run and try to replicate them, maybe.
Yeah, this is some of them right here. The GPT-4 one here is interesting. This is the math problem. They said, is 17077 a prime number? And in March, with a 97% success rate, it said that it was, but in June, it was a 2.4. I mean, that's a massive discrepancy. That one's big. Some of the others, not as much. That seems to be the one that they asked it a bunch of questions, right? That isn't the only question they asked it about math. They asked it 50 to 100 different math questions. So, well, I'm assuming they used that one to highlight it because it's an obviously massive discrepancy. Now, why there's that discrepancy? I don't know. Does that mean it's dumber? I don't know.
I think
the one that
I was going to say another thing. I think when it was dumb, it hallucinated the math answers correctly, I guess. And now that it's smarter, it's like I suck at math. I know it, so I'm not going to even pretend that I know math and answer questions, because like it's a language model. It's not a math model. It's like it's not designed to do math in the sense that you would think. But who knows?
But I'm with you in day-to-day usage. I've noticed no difference.
Yeah, no difference.
What about you, Bobby? I know you've used this a lot too recently.
Yeah, I was using it today. I'm using GitHub Copilot X in VS Code, and I just released a video on YouTube about the chat portion of it, which is new. And what I've always said about this whole thing from the beginning was the only people that think it's going to replace developers are people that aren't developers. The only people that think that it'll replace authors are people that don't write books. Stephen King would laugh at any book written from it. Jerry Seinfeld isn't worried about it replacing him as a comedian, and I'm not worried about it replacing me as a coder. And I'm going to give a little inside baseball. I probably shouldn't do this, but this is how YouTube videos are made, especially in my field. Kevin knows this. I was supposed to push this out, and it took all day to make it because every single time I tried it, it gave a different result, and it wasn't right. And I just had to keep doing it until I got the perfect result. So what I'm laughing at, I'm looking at this chart over here, and it's like, hey, we asked it these prime numbers, and it was wrong. I'm like, well, ask it tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's like you might have got a better result. Who knows? And so while Copilot is really cool because of the workflows closer to the IDE where I'm coding, that's cool. Where I can insert code and all that stuff with you. Watch the video I made. That part's cool. Just know that for me to reproduce a list of movies from an API, which would be a simple task that I could code in 15 minutes, took 6 hours with that thing because I had to keep doing it. I'd get halfway through, ask it the same prompt. It jacks it up. And you can't have a demo like that where you're fixing stuff on the fly. And even at the end of it, I had to fix it to make it work. So it's not quite a junior developer. It never will be. And I don't think that it's going to get any better. What I asked one guy on the internet was he says, wait till GTP5 comes out. It's going to get way better. And I'm like, well, it's already been trained against all of GitHub. What else does it need to know? I mean, it's like giving a junior developer 20 tasks over 6 months and you finally figure out, I don't think this is right for you. I think you need to go do something else for a living because you can't code. So I think this is the way I look at it. It's a useful tool. Integrating your workflow makes it a lot more useful, but can it make a complete solution or a website? Never. I think it's about the same as it has been.
I was just going to add a quick point. You said it's a junior web developer. It might be a junior web developer, but it's a pro at writing performance reviews. Let me tell you, because the performance review that it wrote for me, I got.
Oh man, you got the best performance review ever written.
Right, it's just. Of course, I'm just making that joke. What I use ChatGPT to write my review? What?
Oh, that's amazing. Now, Sarah, have you been using any of this? You've been using the ChatGPT at all for anything?
I really haven't. I did use ChatGPT to write an about me on or about my website because
right.
It was real close. I mean, not about me, Sarah Kimmel, but it was about family tech. I said, what is family tech? Because I was just doing a demo for a reel that I was creating. And so I was like, what is family tech? And what it sped out was actually really good. I'm like, oh yeah, hey, that works. So I copied it and pasted it on my about. And I think for those scenarios, it's fine. To Bobby's point where he says, ask it tomorrow, ask it if it's sure. And then it will spit out a completely different answer. Because I've seen something where it's how many letters are in, Instagram or whatever, and it spits out the right answer. And then you're like, are you sure? And then it's oh, actually, I looked at it and it's actually this. And that's and it's the wrong answer. So it could have the right and wrong answer within seconds of each other.
It can. It does make me wonder. Yeah, exactly. It makes me wonder about these things where it's June. Yeah, what day of June? Because that number could be totally different on the very next day. And it's the same with these numbers too. It could be, I agree. You can ask the same question 100 times and it would not come up with a consensus on that answer. No. It would come up with 100 different answers, or it would come up with a grouping of different answers. That's what it would do. The one thing that we do know a little bit about is the coding thing down here, which I found interesting. So this is what makes me put no weight in the rest of this study. So I read a little bit into this because they really graded this badly. They said they basically asked it a bunch of coding questions, right? And they basically took that code and then they measured it against its immediate. Can you execute it immediately? Right? Can you execute the code immediately? Is what they weighted it on. And the problem is this number is so low because what it did was the answer came back as text, and the text that it came back with was in quotes, either single or double quotes. And of course, it's not executable with quotes around it. So they marked it against it. They didn't even test whether the code inside it worked or not. Like, that's just bad science for me. That's just a bad way of testing it. It could be way better, but we don't know because of the way their test is kind of skewed from the get-go. And that just made me think about some of these other things that I maybe don't understand as much. Are they equally as skewed and I just don't understand them?
Right. I do think that one thing I did notice that it did really well was when I asked it specific things about like a CDN from Bootstrap. When I was trying it earlier in the year, it didn't know what that was at all. And on a Copilot, it could get the CDN right, even down to the version, which I thought was pretty cool, which means that either Copilot is better at this than ChatGPT, which is one of the conspiracy theories, that they made it dumber so people would buy Copilot, which I don't believe. I just think that maybe it's a little bit more nuanced, and maybe it's learning more about things that are important to coders, like a specific URL is important. Whereas the global ChatGPT probably doesn't care. So, but 6 out of 10 times, 4 of those times it got it wrong. I mean, so sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. So it still hallucinates quite a bit. So you just got to know to change it. So
definitely. So something else that came up this week that I want to talk about just real quick is OpenAI, and this kind of comes back to what we're talking about as well. But OpenAI shut down their tool. It was called, what was it called? It was called I don't remember what it was called. It had a terrible name. The AI classifier app, that's what it was called.
The AI chat tool couldn't come up with a better name.
Remember, they're owned by Microsoft.
Right?
So,
AI classifier app is what it was called. That's what's right here, look. But they shut it down as of July 20th, saying basically that it was it had low accuracy in detecting whether the content it was given was written by AI or not. Stop and think about that for a second. The people who made the chatbot cannot tell whether the content it created was created by it or not. They have no clue, which brings me back to say that OpenAI is monitoring these reports of it dipping in performance, right? The reason they're saying that is because they don't know if it's also dipping in performance or not. They have no clue. It's a literal black box. They have no idea how it works. I listened to an interview recently on a podcast that was with the Anthropic guy, right? Who was a spin-off company of OpenAI, right? They didn't like the way that OpenAI was going, so they started their own company. They made Claude. So Claude 2 is their large language model. And he basically said on this podcast that we really don't know how it works. They really have no idea they really do not know. He likened it to being like, well, it's kind of like cellular things at the lowest level. We don't really understand how it works. It's science. We just don't understand it. And so it's a black box. They don't even know how it works themselves. How are we expected to trust anything they say?
I do think the reason people think it's getting dumber is because they're using it more. I think they're right in that the more you use the code, the more you get disappointed with it. And
yes.
So while the first time you use it, wow, that created FizzBuzz. And then you're like, well, I'm going to just fire you remember all the people, Kevin, that were saying, I fired all of my coding staff. Yes. I replaced them. And this was like November 15th. The thing came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then there's marketers saying, I fired my 20 marketers and we're just doing AI. And so at the very first, it looks great. And then you start really trying to use it and you're like, okay, it's got some issues. And I think that's really what it is. The more you use it, the less useful it is because it can't do everything that you want it to. I like it akin to going to the gym. You go to the gym, you walk around, you're like, man, this place is awesome. Look at all this equipment. 3 weeks later, you go in there and you just use the treadmill. After that, you just skip it and go to Krispy Kreme because you're like, that gym sucks. The gym hasn't changed, as you changed. You're like, yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, no, that's true. I agree. I think it is the users that have changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how could we go by this week without talking about what's going on over at Twitter? I mean, X. I mean, I don't know what to call it these days. So
go with the Prince thing, like, the website formerly known as Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's what we should call it from now. The website formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, because it makes more sense than X.
Yeah.
Right. So Elon, in his ultimate wisdom, has thrown away the Bluebird Twitter branding in favor of an X. So, Bobby, thoughts?
So I like Elon Musk and I want to like him. And I think he's really, really, really smart. I think the one thing that I just don't understand is like, he's not a great marketer. Why in the world would you take away an icon that I bet you for 90% of the people, you could put it beside Nike and they would know what the Twitter bird is. And they would know what the Nike logo is. And they know what the Gatorade logo is. And you throw it away for a nondescript logo like an X. X can mean many, many things. But the problem with it, and the same problem he had at PayPal, the reason they didn't like him, he wanted to name PayPal X. And everyone's like, well, you can't like X somebody, that's like, they said it was porn or it's you're killing them. Like it has a bad connotation to it. Whereas you can't PayPal somebody and that sounds cooler. That's why he was kicked out of PayPal. And I think he still wants to use X as a name for whatever reason. Also, here's the other thing. I read a tweet from a guy that used to own the X.com domain. And he came out and talked about the process that
he bought it a while ago, didn't he? He's owned it for a long time, right?
Elon paid him millions for this X.com just because he liked it.
Yeah.
And now he's going to use it no matter what. And it's just weird that you would throw away a brand to try to rebuild a brand just because. It's like the Facebook rename, which everyone still calls it Facebook. You can call it Meta, whatever you want. Why did you rename it to the metaverse and now we don't have one? I mean, so it's just like, it's really weird. He wants to have X to be the app for everything, but he only has Twitter. He doesn't have everything yet. So it seems like you would have like made the other stuff first and then said, now let's call it X because this is everything. It's just weird. He doesn't have Tesla X, or is he going to like X?
There's a Model X. I mean,
well, that's a model on a car, but it's not. It's still Tesla has a very good brand. SpaceX, good brand. X for Twitter, just awful. And then on top of all the things, rate limiting and everything else, it's like he just every week finds a way to drive people away from the platform. It's just crazy. I don't understand.
It's a mission.
This makes total sense why he got divorced. He wants to have an X. Unbelievable.
He's just confused.
Paul's mind is blown. He had an epiphany.
Wow. He's going to have X as like, the fact that we still have twitter.com, but the name is X, that's kind of weird to me, but
have you been to the site recently? Because it's like, at the moment, it's this weird halfway space of X and Twitter. Like when you go there, the box that says like, where it says like write a tweet or whatever it says, it still says that. It's like, right. And it's like, but I'm on X. Why would I write a tweet? So what's a tweet? I don't know anymore. Like you've got rid of the branding. This is not Twitter anymore. It's so weird.
Kevin, let's talk about the logo. I mean, just looking at the logo where the logo Twitter bird was
junk.
It's trash. And then it comes out, it's just a font that someone found on the internet. And it's just like, oh, so you made this on a Friday. I mean, that's what happened. I mean,
he paid someone on Fiverr.
He made it in Word. He didn't even pay anybody on Fiverr. He made it in Word.
I read something about this. So initially what happened was when somebody put the logo out, somebody tweeted like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that X is. That's from this font set. So what actually happened was the person who made that font set came out and said, no, it's not. It's actually not from that. It's worse than that. Get this. It's actually even worse than that. It's actually a standard Unicode glyph version of X. It is actually, if you want to be really technical and geeky, it is U plus 1D54F. That is the brand.
That's a better name than X. If he would just use that.
What do you mean? That's his second child's name. But it's not. But have you heard his child's name? It's like his child's name is like AE. Like it's pretty weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I guarantee you his goal is to name Earth Planet X. But I thought that he took it from Armani Exchange logo. He's like, oh, that X looks nice.
Feels classy.
Yeah,
right?
feels
it's classy to have an X.
But
it's, of all the problems that Twitter has, because they have a lot of them, right? Mm-hmm. This is one that you did not need to solve. It was not a problem you needed to throw into the works at this point in time. You've created too many other issues. Fix the other things first.
From branding,
yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, from branding standpoint, I think it is dumb from certain standpoint, but from his whole change of what Twitter, it's not going to be Twitter. That's the whole point. It's going to be like the Weibo clone, whatever that Chinese deep state monitoring software that all of China's using.
It's the everything app, isn't it?
The everything app.
WeChat is what it's called. WeChat.
Yeah, WeChat.
So
Weibo.
it's basically it's messaging,
else,
it's purchasing, it's e-commerce, it's banking,
Doctors.
it's video, it's getting you, it's Uber, it's basically look at your phone. Every app that's on your screen, it's one app for everything. That's what he wants it to be.
Yeah, and in that case, it makes sense to kill the Twitter brand because it's literally becoming something completely like, honestly, like I said this before, but what he did, he basically bought the infrastructure. He didn't care about keeping Twitter alive. He just wanted to have something that he doesn't have to start from scratch. And his original goal was always to create this new app. And I don't think he cares about keeping people happy. He knows like percentage wise how many people are going to stay. And he's like, I have the infrastructure. I'm just going to build this app and people will eventually start using it over time because, and then the fact is, we have Threads. Threads competed with Twitter, or was made to compete with Twitter. But if he's changes his whole branding to a completely new thing, like Threads just going to be Threads, and then he's going to have his everything app.
Yeah, I think he branded it before he had the everything. He doesn't have anything. He just has Twitter. I mean, well,
he has half of Twitter. I mean, seriously, because he doesn't even have Twitter at the moment. Yeah. He's literally devalued
has a marketplace. Facebook had a metaverse before they announced the change. At least they had a pair of goggles. Zuckerberg got on television and said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing," and we made fun of him and stuff like that. But still, at least he had a thought of why I'm rebranding it. I can see why he didn't want to call it Facebook because he wanted to build other things. But he hasn't built anything else other than this. I mean, he can't get subscribers, advertisers to the platform. He's limiting people from even looking at it. It's insane that that's what he's doing. I mean, and then you just rename it. So now it doesn't have any name brand recognition. My mom, who's never been on Twitter, knows what Twitter is. If I went and asked her today what X is, she would I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
Well, the problem is that if you don't know, it has an immediate connotation with something negative. It is a very negative thing. Or porn, right? I mean, that's like what it comes down to, right? It's one of those things.
That's what PayPal was worried about. They're like, no, we can't name it that, man. What are you talking about? That's not what we do. X.com. I mean, it just has a wrong name to it. And then the rollout's bad. I mean, if I'm running the software company and I'm like, all right, we're going to rename it, Elon. Okay. We got to change the logo everywhere. It's still a bird on my Android app.
Well, hold on. He tried to change it on the building, but he tried to rip down the sign. Did you see that? He had a bunch of guys show up to rip down the sign. The police stopped them because they didn't have permits to rip the sign down on the side of the building because they didn't have permits for the equipment, I guess, on the street. So that didn't go very well. It then turns out that both the trademark that he's now chosen as X associated with social media and software is owned by two other companies, Xbox, Microsoft, and of all companies, Meta. Meta has a trademark for the letter X that they filed in. What did I see? 2019,
it was 19
I think.
So I'm wondering if it even has a trademark yet. Because you can trademark different versions of the X.
I agree, but it's literally related to software and social media.
I know, it's
your direct competition. It's the guy you've been threatening to MMA fight. He's not going to push back and use it. Of course he is. Zuckerberg is just sitting at home being like, "Oh man, that bad move. Easy. That was silly."
About him tearing the sign down in other news, I didn't realize that the police department in San Francisco still responded to calls. So that's good to know that they're still out there.
They do. They do. Don't believe everything you read in the news.
Well, on the branding front, I was talking to my husband about this, and I'm like, it's like if Band-Aid decided they wanted to now be called Owie Care. Everybody knows a Band-Aid, and it's branded now. You get a generic brand and you still call it Band-Aid. So if I'm at a store and I am looking at a bunch of Band-Aids and I see Owie Care now, I'm just going to think it's another off-brand Band-Aid. Like, it's not going to be the Band-Aid brand, that's already so iconic. So I don't understand why you would completely just, because it's a verb, I'm tweeting or whatever.
Yeah.
And that
it works, doesn't it?
Right. And like, what am I Xing? That doesn't even make any sense.
You have to make, yeah.
So
we don't know.
Well, your Band-Aid analogy is funny, but like, let's take it one step further. They wouldn't have named it Owie Care. Elon would have named it B.
Right.
And you just walk in there
which
like,
makes it so much worse.
Hey,
Exactly.
hey B, can you give me the
can I have a
B?
B?
What a B. Like, I need a B. What are you
It's
talking
crazy.
about?
It's like, so not only did he make a lot of decisions that, by estimates, half the value of the company, right? They estimated he spent 44 billion. Estimates have recently said it's probably worth 22. And then you get rid of the actual branding for it. The branding is worth so much money. It's worth so much of that 22 billion. It's like you've just taken another chunk off the top of it. I don't understand I understand his aim for this, like building this bigger thing. There's more to this. There is more. Does anybody? What's the best conspiracy theory that any of you guys have around why he's doing this?
Here's my from a female perspective conspiracy theory. So he joked about buying Twitter, and then like kind of went a little serious with it, and then they held him to the fire on that. Like they basically forced him to buy it, and it hurt his male ego, and he is burning the whole thing to the ground because he got pissed off. There's my female perspective.
That's as good a theory as any. I mean that's probably not far from the truth.
What's your conspiracy, Paul?
Oh my God!
You've got to have a good one, Paul.
What Sarah said is probably the thing, the truth. I just, his obsession. I don't know what the theory is, but I am wondering what his obsession with X is. Like, why is it? Like, did he have like a experience when he was little and he saw the letter X, and then like his whole like life is to rename things to X?
This is true. I mean, this says a lot about, like, I think that one of the theories is that he does have some kind of a, he's on the spectrum of some kind.
For sure.
Right? So that's one of the theories, that like you can get fixated on something. You have a certain type of personality, or you have a certain type of condition. And maybe that is a thing. Maybe he is fixated on something X, or something that he doesn't talk about, or we don't see, that's driving his decisions. It's kind of nuts. Some of the other theories that are floating around out there that are not mine, I don't want to be liable around these. I'm just quoting what other people have said. And he's actually said this, that he is a user of ketamine. So he's using ketamine. He's microdosing ketamine to stop depression. He has said that. Some people have reported that anyway, that he said that. And he's used it at parties. So maybe substance abuse is another issue, which would answer the sort of the Jekyll and Hyde of Elon Musk that we see, because we see sometimes, Bobby and I have talked about this before, well, some days we'll come in and be like, man, did you see that interview with Elon? He had his head screwed on. Like, he knew what he was talking about. He seemed really, really, really smart. And then the next day, he's tweeting something absolutely insane. Like, is this the same guy? Does he have a twin? Is it like, it really feels like there are two versions of this guy.
He does have a twin, by the way. Have you seen
Does
Asian?
he really?
No, I'm just kidding. But have you seen Asian Elon Musk impersonator?
Seriously?
Asian Elon Musk impersonator.
global.
Have you seen it? Google that right now. If you've never seen Asian Elon Musk, where you've been? Where you all been? We have the internet. God, good Lord,
Paul,
Jesus.
you
Too busy
spend
watching
too much time.
NPCs.
You spend too much time.
You
on
gotta
the
watch.
internet, apparently.
You gotta see his videos.
Okay.
Jesus Christ! Like I have no idea what he says, but like yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
They do
this
look
guy-
alike.
You gotta see his videos on TikTok. You just gotta
They
see it.
do
It's
look
just
alike.
complete
Wow.
insanity. You're welcome, by the way.
You're welcome.
My theory is that I think this comes down to a base thing just called ego, and I think ego always goes before pride, goes before the fall. I think that when you buy Twitter, I think you just rename it because you can, and I think when he thinks in his mind, when I blow this up and it's it's $100 billion company or $1 trillion company, then it's called X because that's the Elon thing, and people will forget about Twitter. Twitter's attached to Jack Dorsey. those guys. I think that's probably my best conspiracy theory, that it's really just ego, and he's just going to rename it because he can, and he thinks no matter what he does, he always wins, he never loses. And I just think that he can't comprehend throwing in a brand because of ego is just a bad thing. Whereas if I owned it, I would rock that bird forever. But I am wondering, Kevin, can we change the Free Kevin shirt now? Can we use the Twitter logo?
I don't know. Maybe we should put an X on it now. I don't know, exactly. I'm still not back over there yet. Still banned, by the way.
Well, we could use the little bird. We could use it now since he threw it away. So
maybe. Well, it does make me wonder. Is it now up for grabs? I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. At what point does it become unused that he doesn't want it anymore? I'm still 50-50 on whether he's trying to win or lose. Because I really can't tell either way. Is he trying to make it a thing, or is he trying to destroy it? Because for me, it goes half the decisions seem to go one way and half of them go the other. He says one thing but does another. Because I'm constantly convinced by the actions that he just wants to destroy it, that he just wants it to go away.
I don't think so. I think he just doesn't listen to people in this area, and he hasn't had to in his whole life. And this is something he's not good at marketing. He's not good at rolling out an enterprise piece of software. It's clearly not. He can build cars. He built space rockets. He can dig tunnels. He can make flamethrowers. This seemingly is out of his skill set, and he just continually steps in it every week.
I think just because he's involved with space, which is highly regulated thing, so he deals with the government a lot. And a while ago, 12 years ago, The Onion, it was they made fun of things. They made this funny video called Facebook CIA Project, where they basically said people willingly will give up their freedom to kind of use Facebook. And now nobody talks about the video because it's oh wait, that's true. Actually true. It's true. Not a joke. So
it was a documentary actually.
yeah, right. So it's a documentary. So now he is wait, Facebook did a thing, and then he really likes what China is. Again, it's my conspiracy hat. Don't whatever, take it as you will. China has this app which basically, if you post something on that app that the government doesn't agree with, people literally show up to your house. It's really ridiculous. It's their everything app. And I think he wants to create the equivalent. And maybe we're not going to go as dystopian as, or what's that, dictatorship or whatever, Orwellian type of app like they have in China. But I'm sure if he could be the first one to enter the market and actually get people willingly doing their banking, doing their doctors, ordering their food, and even if he gets 10% of people, that's still huge. You know what I mean? And the fact is, if by any chance he succeeds, think about it it's people be well, it's convenient for me to do everything from one app. So instead of getting Uber, maybe you'll have to get Uber from the new app that he's doing. And so I think he's really is going to keep pushing and bank on that to kind of have this one app that will rule the humans through his tight grip.
Well, like I said before, he has to build PayPal first. You got to get that out there. That's not an easy feat. I would say on the scale of complexity, building a PayPal clone is way harder than building a Twitter clone. And he was given the Twitter clone.
Like I say, he hasn't. Yeah, he started. That's the point. His starting point is Twitter. Well, half of Twitter.
Yeah. So DoorDash isn't going to go away anytime soon. I mean, you got to get all those restaurants to sign on. There's just a lot to it. It's more than just building the one app. I mean, China can do that because they just tell them.
Just say you can use this app. Exactly. Yeah.
And everyone else, if you try to make a competitor, we kill you. And that's why there's one app. Here in America, it's really hard to roll out a service that people want. And now, even with Threads, it's hard. I mean, we have a lot of people on Threads, but it's not as cool as even Twitter yet. Even there's still people on Twitter because it has features.
Yeah.
It's just that he continually finds ways to make the user base mad. It's the oddest thing ever.
He really embraces the all press is good press.
I guess.
Yeah.
Line of thinking. They're talking about me. Who cares what they're saying?
Yeah, marketing's important though, I would think, but he doesn't think so.
By the way, RoboDogAd is following me around.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all.
We should never have talked about this the other week.
Yeah, I want to buy one. I want to get one. I was going to say, any bets if you think the company's going to go bankrupt, and if so, when? Or do you think he's going to pull through?
I don't think Twitter will go bankrupt. My bet is that it would get sold before it goes bankrupt, and that someone would buy it. Now, will he make money on that sale? Probably not. But like, I could see
He would
him
never do that.
spinning it. But well, it depends on who you are. If you're Blue Sky and you need 100 million people, there's a reason why you would buy.
No,
the
but I'm
user
saying
base.
he wouldn't. I'm not saying nobody will buy it. I'm saying somebody would buy it. I'm saying he
Yeah.
won't sell it.
Hmm.
Selling it to him as a loss. I think that he's
It
never
could
going to
be.
admit a loss. Here's what he's going to do. If it does go down in flames, it'll go down in flames with him saying, "Told you. I told you I was going to get rid of the thing," and I'm just. He's going to play it as some
Like
kind
he
of
meant it.
like he meant it. Like it was just to get rid
Yeah.
of the left dictating everything on this app, and that was his goal all along. He'll say that's
the
what I meant
conspiracy
to
there.
do.
Yeah, like
That's-
he's
that's
sticking it
my
to liberal
guess.
media. You know, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But they're just going to go to Threads. That's what's weird about that.
There'll just be another one pop up. But
Then he's
it never was his goal. He's just going to say that was his
Yeah.
goal.
Right.
Yeah. Then he's gonna buy Threads and do the same thing and be, "I told you." And then he'll be
Zuckerberg
that
would
dude
never.
on the corner of like Broadway and Fifth, like whatever, and just tacking gibberish on the, like with a sign, "Please take me home, ET," like whatever. They will have those uncles. So,
Elon's that uncle. That's funny.
So the US is introducing a new labeling program for IoT devices. It's called the US Cyber Trustmark Program. Sounds like a typical government named program. Again, not so catchy. US Cyber Trustmark. That's what it's going to be. So basically, it's expected to raise cybersecurity standards for everyday internet-connected devices. So things like your smart fridge, your smart washing machine, your microwave, your TV, your AC, climate control, your fitness trackers, all that stuff you have at home, your light bulbs, your cameras, everything. So basically, they want to slap a sticker on this thing or a trust mark, whatever you want to call it, that says, we trust these devices. These devices you can trust. We have sort of government check them. And they're checking for things like unique and strong default passwords, which is a big one. We could talk about that for days. Data protection, software updates, and incident detection capabilities. So they're basically saying, hey, this device here, it's a little more secure. It does these things. So we're going to give it this seal of approval, if you will. And we trust these and you should trust them too. So, Sarah, is this going to affect the way you purchase new IoT devices? And are you more likely to purchase a cyber Trustmark product over one that is not Trustmark?
Absolutely not. Like, first, I don't even know the last time I saw an Energy Star like icon on, like, because it's just on everything, and like it's not something I've ever looked for. I could care less. But this one is so problematic for me. Coming from the IT space, you can't guarantee that something is going to be trustworthy in cybersecurity like 2 weeks down the road. Like, there is no possible way that you can slap a sticker on something that is like going to get firmware updates, that's going to have vulnerabilities discovered in the future, and say that it is trustworthy. This is just going to give people a false sense of security, because it has this it brings me back to Tommy Boy, where I put a guarantee on the box because you're going to put the box in like your bed and sleep with it at night and say, "Oh, it's there, like comforting me." Like, it means nothing. It just means I guaranteed a piece of poop, So it's worthless, and I think it's lame. So
I wonder what problem it solves. Does we have an idea what problem this solves? Does it solve an actual problem?
No.
I will tell you a problem it solves.
There you go,
Go
Paul.
on.
What?
Okay, here it comes. Be ready. So
This
here's
is
the
tin hat
problem.
stuff.
I'm braced.
Here's the problem. The government's trying to figure out how can we add backdoors to these devices that
Right.
people just freely-nilly selling. So if we have some process that we call super security program where we will put a stamp, and what does it mean? Well, we have to look at your device. We have to kind of examine it and be like, oh, look at this space here. We could put this little thing there. All right, here you go. It's approved. And then it's
You
going
also
to be
have to
on
pay to get it.
Elon's all app
Yep.
that he's trying to build, all interconnected with,
My guess is
biometric
yes.
scan.
Bobby hit it. I think you have to probably pay to get it.
Yeah, you do.
I'm also thinking the other problem that this solves that it's trying to solve that doesn't really solve is China, right? It's trying to say, because I guarantee you, there's no way stuff made in China is getting this sticker. There's no way. Wise cameras, wise light bulbs, my switch
Paul's
bot. There's
favorite.
no way it's getting this seal of approval.
It'll be funny unless they pay, they get it. Which, to Bobby's point, that makes perfect sense. Like, how
can't pay
can
for
they make more money as a government agency? And it's what am I thinking about these wild things? It's like usually it's money,
I don't think this doesn't say whether they are charged for it, by the way. So I don't know if you are charged for it.
Well,
or
it's
not.
the
I'm just
government,
assuming
Kevin.
you are.
We
Just-
can
I
assume.
know. But full disclosure, that is an assumption.
Safely assume.
We're allegedly assuming.
If you need to
hypothetically.
get something certified, it costs money. So trust me. Here's the thing that people don't realize. This is all about perimeter security. And up until all these IoT devices came out, we had this firewall that would block all incoming traffic. What an IP camera does and what these things do is actually exist outside the network, but it's connected internally. And so someone can log into this camera remotely, and then you're on the network, and then you can do escalation privileges. So what needs to happen is something like a zero trust implementation. So that means that nobody can log into this and has to verify its access every single time for anything that exists outside your firewall. And I think that that's where we need to be looking at. In fact, if you have anything in your network that you care about your network on, especially if you're in a corporate whatever, and you're plugging IP cameras or Ring camera outside, whatever you're doing, it needs to be on a different physical network device. And then it needs to be segmented from the rest of all the network devices. So even if it does get admin privileges, it can't leap over to the other network. So
Imagine
you have to put
setting that
up
up
two
at home.
firewalls. Well, segmented firewalls can work. So you can put a switch in your device and then push that into your firewall and say, for this port, it can only access the internet. It can't go anywhere else. It has a different physical IP layer. So like a 10 dot address, and then the rest of your network is on 11 dot address. And there's no way to get over that. So a lot of firewalls do that. And guess which one does that? My gold Firewalla does that.
Firewalla.
Here's the thing, though. Most people just aren't going to do that. The reason, they don't know to do it. And they're definitely not
Right.
going to, even if they do know. Most people plug in these things, and if it works, they leave it. Because don't forget, this was the thing for the longest time. A bunch of these IP cameras had standard passwords.
Well, yeah.
And what happened was people plugged them in, the camera worked. They're like, oh, cool, I can see my camera on my phone now or on my computer. Cool, awesome. Never changed the password, right? So it basically opened up their cameras, definitely, and their network potentially to the entire internet. You just could search for these specific IP cameras, and they just showed up on the internet. So people's ability to understand this stuff is really low. So, I guess the one thing that I could see is the one thing that they talk about is having unique and strong default passwords. I do like that idea. I think a lot of that should be mandated. That should be a thing anyway. We shouldn't even be able to plug something in and not have to change the password, or at least have some kind of unique password. I remember when you used to buy a router, even routers had default passwords back in the day. You got one, you had,
Admin
you plugged it
password.
in. Yeah, exactly. Admin password. And you plugged it in and it just worked, and people never changed it.
I'm
They
looking at
never
a
changed
site
it.
right
It's
now
insane.
called Camera FTP. I just found one, and you can look at all these cameras right now.
Yeah. Because they're plug and play. They work.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you those people that are on those cameras do not know they are open to the internet.
Yeah. So instead of a US cyber Trustmark, I would just mainly buy name brand stuff, stuff that's been,
Yeah.
proven. We were talking about the Wise stuff that Paul did, get Philips Hue, because that's a trusted brand that has been around for a while and has those kind of security measures in place already. When you buy I can't even think of when you buy the X light bulb from Temu, yeah, that's probably going to have some major cybersecurity issues.
It's also going to burn your house down.
Right.
Because it was 97 cents.
Right. So I'd rather stick with a brand than trust a government label.
Yeah, I'm with you. At least you get a little bit more. It's not completely you shouldn't feel completely secure with that, but it's a step towards being more secure, isn't it? It just is.
Yeah, we need zero trust implementation. No device should be trusted, and it should have to authenticate every single time.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I totally agree, Bobby.
Okay, let's move on to our recommendation section, our nulls/not nulls for the week. Anybody have anything they're not recommending this week? Anybody have a?
I have a 100% recommend.
Recommendations, everybody? Okay, because I was going to do the
excited.
not recommendation ones first. So, okay, I'll go down the list here. Sarah, you're next to me, so you're up first.
All right. So I have thousands of DVDs and like literally I'm a big, and we also have like hundreds and hundreds of CDs still too. So there's a thing, but my Plex server is my pride and joy. Like, I love water bottles. I think I love Plex more than my water bottles. And because when before streaming was a thing, I always thought, okay, I would love like a jukebox where I put all my DVDs in this like giant jukebox and I can just like select which DVD I want to watch. And then Plex came along and I just like ripped all my DVDs onto my NAS and I have this Plex server. So, and you can share it with your friends, which is the best thing. So my friend had her father-in-law over at her house and they're like going through my Plex server and he's like, what streaming service is this? It's got like all of the things.
It's Kimmel TV.
It's Kimmel TV. And she's like,
I'm
oh,
gonna
it's
rename
just,
it to K.
yeah, K. So like my Plex server is quite extensive. TV, movies, I've got workouts on there and everything because I have like a zillion workout DVDs that I love to do. So just having all of my stuff where I don't have to I don't have to get like my DVD out, I just load it up. Yeah.
Is the media server side of this thing free or is it paid?
So so my friends can sign up for a free account and then I can share my library with them. So they don't need to have a paid subscription. Okay. I did the
This is like Napster? Is this like Napster?
No.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're sharing like something you bought to someone else.
Well, no, but like they can't, like they are streaming it from my network basically. Right. So yeah, like
but they're not copying
downloading it. Like, okay. They're
don't
like
forget, copyright happens when you make a copy.
Right. So like I just loaded up onto mine. I have the MP4. They're just watching it from my network. So like they're not downloading the MP4 as well. So
do you get your friends calling saying, hey, you need to fix your upload speed?
Yeah.
It's kind of laggy over here.
What about movie requests?
With your stuff.
What about movie requests? You get that? Like, hey, you got Spider-Man?
I do. Yeah. They're like, hey, did you go buy Super Mario movie yet? I'm like, oh, I haven't been to Target yet.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, and I'm not a pirate. I don't do piracy. So, I do.
So you're buying all these and ripping them, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. What about the TV services on here? Have you used this too?
So I actually do. Well, I have an antenna plugged in to what's called like a home run, and so I can load up my antenna channels. So today I was on TV and I was at the studio, and I'm like, oh, that's right, I need to record it. So I pull up my Plex server, pull up the live TV, and I can record like what I was going to appear on TV for, and then now I can like grab that MP4 and upload it to like YouTube or something. But
okay, that's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So like, so you can DVR like your antenna, like, so you don't even need to pay for like live TV if you're just watching, regular antenna channels.
How much does it cost to subscribe to your Plex server?
To my Plex server?
Yeah.
0.00 free 99.
Because I kicked Paul off my Netflix account, so now he can go over to your service. So.
Oh, I like it. That's funny. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, it's very cool. I like it. Okay, Paul, what you got?
But I got this Rolly keyboard.
Oh,
and
nice.
it's got illuminating keys. And what's awesome about it, because I suck at playing, because I don't know any like keys or like, and so it'll show me all the different scales and it'll light up the scales. So I know how to like make chords once I know what scale I'm in. And so it will show the different notes light up and I could just play it in whatever scale I set it to. It's pretty sick, rolly. And they have this other thing, which is pretty insane. Man, I think music is going to be the thing that's going to keep me broke forever. For sure.
That's funny.
I think you want to look under their product. That thing that dude is holding, like I didn't buy that. That thing is crazy. You should watch the demo for it.
This one, right?
Yeah, I bought that one. And what's cool, you could buy like 4 of them and then put them together to get like a full set. I mean, it's going to be an expensive full keyboard, but yeah, it's pretty sweet.
So it shows you, then it lights up and you just hit it when it lights up.
Well, you could do that, but so there's a bunch of different scales. And so I don't.
What's a scale?
Music Theory 101 with Bobby.
Listen.
Oh no.
This is all I just know the patterns to create chords and what the chords are. I don't know what scales are. Like you're asking the wrong person.
Right. So it's basically just a series of notes.
Right. Yes, exactly. Thank you. You know, it's a series of notes that sound nice and pleasant.
Yeah.
And so
that's it.
So you know you're out of scale when you hit something that hurts your ears. And so it basically will show you the scales. And since I know like the pattern for chords, like I could play any of the chords in any of the scale that I'm in because I know which scale I'm in because I could visually see it, which is kind of sweet. And so I'm pretty excited. I've been playing with it.
Okay, cool.
Sleepless nights. But for any music lovers, I recommend and they recommend it for sure.
Very cool. I like it. Okay, Bobby, what you got?
So recently we upgraded the whole office here to Mac Minis. So all the instructors got the Mac Minis to run their thing. The cool thing about Mac Minis is they're really, really fast. The bad thing is they don't have any connectivity on the back of it. It's got a little bit. It's okay. It's got 4 Thunderbolts, but you need more stuff if you're running stuff like this. You got microphones. Sometimes on my desk I have 2 microphones, all kinds of things you need to plug in. So you get a dock for the Mac Mini, and I think the best dock on the planet is the CalDigit Thunderbolt TS4. It'll drive monitors. It gives you 18 ports, plus it'll drive monitors, so you can run multiple monitors off the dock, either in DisplayPort or Thunderbolt or HDMI. So it's really slick, or USB-C if you have those kind of monitors. What's important for us, though, is that it had to be Thunderbolt because the Mac Mini has a problem with non-Thunderbolt monitors, and we had to buy Thunderbolt monitors for the Macs to get them to work. They were just kind of like problematic with some of the older USB-C monitors that we were using, or an HDMI. So you can plug an HDMI into the back of a Mac Mini, but this allows you to kind of like get your cable managed a little better, put it all in one dock, and your Thunderbolt just right back to the PC. It's pretty cool.
Yep. I have this exact same one.
Yeah. The other problem with the Mac Mini is there's nothing on the front of the Mac Mini to plug into, and this gives you front ports. So you have a USB-C if you're, like for us, if you want to charge, your Mac keyboard or your Mac touchpad or your phone or whatever it is, you can plug in right to the front. And then you have the little micro SD cards, which are kind of cool if you're recording off cameras, which I routinely pull something off our Blackmagic camera, and I might put it into the front of that, and I can just see it. So
I bought one of these. Right, I got the new Mac at the beginning of the pandemic, and if it's a MacBook Pro, and the problem with the Macs is they don't have enough connection ports. They have a lot of Thunderbolt ports, but they don't have any USB A ports. So you have legacy hardware of any kind that needs a USB A port. You've got to buy a dock. So I bought this dock too, and it works great.
And all the USA ports are USB 3.2 ports. So like if you have a 10 gig connection, you can look at those with the blue cables. Like I have to tell people, well, it's got the blue cable or the white cable. It's blue cable ports that'll go in there, and that'll just work for your high speed devices. All of them are like that. There's no like old USB A's that support the older specs. So it's kind of cool. Everything's fast. And what we do is we hook external drives to all the Mac Minis too. The other thing about Mac Mini is if you want to get a 4 terabyte drive, it's like $800. It's like half the price of the whole device just to get 2 extra terabytes. So what I bought
Apple
for them
Premium
was a Mac Mini, and then I've got them a CalDigit, and then I added in a USB or Thunderbolt drive that they just plug into the back of this, and they got 2 extra terabytes of storage. So works pretty good.
It's the exact same setup I have here.
Yep.
And it's great. Yep, super good. Okay, my recommendation for this week is another gadget recommendation. So I've been running iOS 17 beta on my phone. The public beta is out, not the developer beta. So I've been running the public beta. It's been good. Not had any major issues with it, other than there's a slight keyboard issue where it just like where your typing just disappears. I'm hoping they fix that for when it goes full release. But otherwise, it's been pretty good. But they introduced a new nightstand mode. So when you put your phone, when your phone is charging and you put it into landscape mode, there's now this new nightstand mode. The screen turns like a red color, so it's like for night mode, and it's like you can the widgets on it, so you can put a calendar on it or a clock or whatever, and you're supposed to put it on your nightstand. So I bought one of these things to go on my nightstand to go along with it, and it's very cool. So you can twist the phone around into kind of portrait mode, or like from portrait to landscape mode, and it'll go into like nightstand mode. So this will, like the 3-in-1 charger, will charge phone, watch, AirPods, which I have all of them when I charge. So I was like, this is a no-brainer for me. Like this is totally made for me. And it's great. It's a solid piece of like equipment. I know it's like a premium. You can definitely get cheaper ones than this, but Belkin's pretty good. It's fast charging too. So yeah, definitely.
So nightstand mode turns it red because that's better than blue?
Night vision. Yeah, you don't lose your night vision. Same way, if you look at like, if you watch a movie where there's special forces and they have a red flashlight, the reason that it's red is because it doesn't ruin your night vision. You can actually, like, your night vision won't disappear if you look at something with red. You can look up again and still have your night vision. If you look at something that's a blue colored light, it'll ruin your night vision.
Okay, your iris changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Bigger. Okay.
Yeah, the dilation.
Smaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, it shows up in red, and you can look at it. It doesn't stay on; it's activated. It's sensor activated as well, so you can kind of put your hand near it, and your screen will come on. Yeah, it's a cool new feature. I like it.
Cool.
Well, that's it. I'm sure Android's had this feature forever, haven't they?
No, I don't know. I don't have nightstand mode.
Maybe you do and didn't know.
That's probably true.
Probably. Okay, well, that's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. If I can ask everybody to do me a favor, if you've ever listened to us on Apple Podcasts, I have a goal. I have something that we want us to do here. I want to crack the top 200 in the technology category. I've seen some other podcasts in them, like Az is as good as that. And actually, you know what? Az is better than that. I'm not going to name drop. But like Az is better than that podcast there. Why are they in the top 200 and we're not? So I would love for you to put us in the top 200. So obviously listening to it on Apple Podcasts will help us, and leaving a review on there will help us as well. I would definitely appreciate it. If you can leave us a 1-star, please email me to tell me why you're going to leave us a 1-star. But you can anyway if you really, really, really want to. But either way, yeah, anything there would be great, but please don't. A 5-star would be great because it definitely helps us. We want to get up into that top 200. I want to
help us reach our goals.
Exactly.
And see, once we reach the top 200, we'll just change the name of the podcast. Elon.
To X.
Elon. Now we're going to pick another letter.
To N, yeah.
Well, just use the exclamation point, just
right,
the exclamation.
Right. Exclamation point with an N.
It's called the knot.
The knot.
The knot. I like it. Okay, we'll catch everybody next week.
See you later.
Bye.